Are you guys ready? I know I'm ready. Good morning and welcome to the Charles Matthews Show. How you guys doing? I got a great show for you on this Monday. I know you got to stretch, wake up. It's beginning of the week. So let's start off strong. Here we go. Today's guest is going to help you to unlock your potential and soar. Are you ready to unlock your potential? Well, I am as well. Let's bring in Karlene. Karlene.
Hey, Charles. Good morning. How are you?
How you doing?
Excellent, excellent. It's Monday and it's beautiful and sunny outside, and I couldn't be happier.
That's great. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me again. I'm becoming a regular on here. I think I should just get a job beside you.
Definitely do that. We can definitely do that. So what's been going on with you since last time we talked?
Oh my goodness. Trying to navigate this this climate and this atmosphere. It's been a bit of a doozy mentally, psychologically, emotionally, but you know what? I'm hanging in there. How about you?
Listen, we just did a telethon on the weekend, raised some more funds for COVID-19. We're raising funds for people from Jamaica. That's why you saw the Jamaica signs behind me.
Right.
So we raised some funds and it was a great time. But we realized that even when we're doing all these things, that there's potential in everybody. And that's what we're here to talk about, your own potential and how you can soar, because everybody has it in them, but how do you pull it out of them?
That's the thing.
Right. So tell us a little bit about yourself. If this is people's first time seeing you, give us a little bit of background about yourself.
I'm Karlene Millwood, as it says on the screen. Originally from Jamaica, Manchester, beautiful, cool Mandeville, Manchester, Jamaica. As a matter of fact, Kendall, Jamaica, for those who are watching from Jamaica, where they had that massive train crash a gazillion years ago before I was born. Migrated to Canada in the late 80s. And I always love to tell the story that I graduated Sunday and by Friday I was in Canada. So that was it. I don't remember any life in Jamaica after high school graduation, because within 6 days I was here. And so, I lived in Montreal for the first few years of my Canadian life and studied there my undergrad in computer science, which served me in my corporate life for 20 years in different roles. I think I love to share with people too that I started in computer science when mainframe computers were on the way out and personal computers were just becoming a thing. My very first computer had something like 345 megs of RAM, and we thought that was the bomb. So, compared to today when we're talking 5G, right? So, yeah. So anyway, yes, I moved to Toronto for job opportunities here, and I've settled here since the early 90s. Now, my 20-year career in information technology spans, I think, all the sectors that you can think of. The first one was in telecommunications. Then I moved from telecommunications to banking. Then from banking, I went to energy. And from energy, I went to government. And that's where I left it until I moved in and started pursuing my own passion and purpose. So here I am today as an entrepreneur, entrepreneurial filmmaker, a leadership mentor, among a host of other things. So that's me in a nutshell.
But I want to ask you this question. Every time I talk to somebody live or talk to somebody that's an entrepreneur, they went into the corporate world, was in the corporate world for a few, and then they had to run out. A lot of entrepreneurs became entrepreneurs after the corporate world. What is it about the corporate world? We want to dive into the corporate world because we see the suits and the briefcases and the big meetings and the boards. But everybody I talk to says afterwards, after leaving the corporate world for 10 years or 15 years, after leaving the corporate world, why are they running out of the corporate world to become their own entrepreneur?
Well, I will tell you this. The corporate world has its own merits. And I spent several great years in the corporate world. I think when I worked in the energy sector in the mid to late 90s, that were some of my best years in corporate. I really enjoyed that. And, banking wasn't too bad either. When you're managing a help desk that is supporting a bunch of belligerent traders, especially on Monday mornings, because those guys got to make their commissions, right? But it does make for interesting work. Not to mention the words that were being hurled around the trading floor, you know what I mean? And so you grew up pretty quickly in that atmosphere. But to answer your question about why do people run away from the corporate world, some run away, some, and I wouldn't even call it run away, and some just decide to go pursue their passion. Some are pushed out. I was pushed out. That's the thing. And I just decided that, at that point in time, that I wouldn't allow anyone to make a decision for my life like that anymore without my permission. Right. And, with my severance package and some of my savings, I decided, this is the time, with some divine guidance, now is the time to start pursuing what I truly love. The caveat to that is that I was already doing what I love while in corporate. And so there's this interesting story that I tell, and people always raise their eyebrows like, what are you talking about? But I remember being seconded to a project in one of the organizations that I worked for in the last little bit. And there was someone that the individual that I reported directly to had an issue with me being on the project. And so they found every reason to pull me back off. So who seconded me to the project was the director of the department. And so the person I reported to the director. So they found every reason to get the director's permission to pull me back off the project, citing their fact that there was just too much work in my department to do for me to be off working on something else. And I will tell you this, that when I went back to my department, I set up my desk for weeks upon weeks and weeks with absolutely zero to do. Mm-hmm. And I decided, you know what, this really is a waste of my time. Around week 3 or 4, I decided it's a waste of my time. And I said, if you're not going to pay me to do what I'm hired to do, then you're going to pay me to do one of my own projects. And so the manuscript for my first book was already written, and I was so afraid to show it to anyone. I just decided, somebody saw it and said, you know what, you should really get this published. Like most authors and first-time authors, we're always afraid to put our work out there. So I sat there during that time and revised the manual for my book. After the revision, I got it published. After the published, I got the book launched and included some of the people from the office. And I did all of that while sitting at that desk, being paid by them to do my own project. It happened a second time. A few months later, again, I was seconded out to another project. The same situation occurred, and I went back with absolutely nothing to do. And I sat there and I wrote my first theatrical production. Mm-hmm. I wrote it, I casted it, I did rehearsals, I put it on stage, and I had people from the office attending it, and they paid me to do that. So, I realized that in every situation, it's how you choose to look at it. I saw opportunities within that to do what I love, instead of just wasting my time driving from Mississauga to Toronto every day and sitting there doing nothing. I made use of that opportunity. And so by the time, it came around where I was let go, citing that I didn't really fit with the team, I was full on in the mind space that, you know what, I truly want to go pursue my passion now. So after I left there, and I'm giving it to you in a nutshell because so much more happened, right? But after that, I took my severance package, some of my savings. I moved to Vancouver for 1 year, enrolled in an intensive program at the Vancouver Film School, and completed my diploma, and then came back to Toronto. So I redefined myself in the space of a year and a half. And now this is how I'm in this space. Now, the whole leadership aspect of my business comes because of my 2 decades of experience in corporate, plus all the other leadership roles that I had in the community. I have a scholarship program that I run in Jamaica at the primary school that I used to attend. I used to be the leader of the women's ministry at my church. When I worked at Toronto Police, I was one of the co-chairs of the Women's Internal Support Network. And so I had all of these things going for me. And so, with all of that comes vast experience and vast knowledge. And that's how the leadership mentor part comes into play. So
Okay.
that's it in a nutshell.
So then the question is, I'm looking at your website. It says unlock your potential and soar. And that's what we said in the beginning of the show to bring people in, because people might be looking like, well, are they talking to me, or how is she supposed to know that who I am? How am I supposed to know that I'm the person to soar? Like, how do people know what they're great at? How do the people know that it's time to take that challenge and that step? Because it's faith. You have to take that step in faith and say,
Yeah.
I can try it. When is a
Yeah.
good time, and how do you know it's your time?
Yeah, I do this thing, and I did a webinar on it like a couple of weeks ago, that entrepreneurship is spelled RISK. So you really have to have the faith to step into that. And this is where a lot of people, they hesitate because number one, of the fear of failure, the fear of losing that financial security of getting that paycheck every couple of weeks or every week, and then the fear of criticism from friends and family. How do they know what they're good at? It's just look at what you do naturally. What is it that comes to you naturally that you enjoy doing? And ask yourself a simple question. If money was not an issue, what would I be doing right now?
Man.
Right? That for me, even more than what comes naturally, is the starting point. If money was not an issue, what would I be doing right now? That will start leading you, to tap into what that passion is, or what those innate gifts and talents are. Now, and the funny thing about it is this: some people will realize what their natural gifts and talents are very early in life, right? Some people won't. I didn't really start recognizing mine until I was coming up to my 40th birthday. And for some people, that's a little late. For me, I think it was right on time, because with all the years I spent in corporate, I was now more prepared mentally, emotionally, psychologically, to really take on those challenges. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it doesn't matter what age you find out what the passion is. It doesn't matter what age you get the entrepreneurial bug. One thing I will say, it is never too late. You're always right on time, because the one thing is, when the student is ready, then the teacher shows up. So if you're finding out about it when you're 58, it's because that's when you're ready, right? You weren't ready before. And
Right.
so once you, and this is one of the things that I like to do with people, and this is talking about pulling out the potential. Once you recognize what it is that you want to do, then there comes the hesitation, there comes the fear. And I help them to get past that fear, right? And to really tap into what it is that they truly want to do, and help them strategize a plan on how to move forward. So that's how I work with them, in helping them to pull that potential out of them.
All right. So we're going to dive into that a little more right after this break. We're going to go to your website and then find out, okay, what's the steps? How do we know? And then how do we know that maybe it is or isn't the right steps for now, or when is the right time? So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Immigrant Women in Business, IWB, is a non-profit organization bringing together women from over 50 different countries around the globe. These women have now made Canada their home and share a common goal of providing value to their new sisters. Our motto of "We are stronger together" resonates with all members, and with a diverse membership of business leaders, entrepreneurs and community builders, our goal is to make Canada better and provide guidance and leadership to those that follow.
CMJ Entertainment is a one-stop shop. CMJ Entertainment helps people do any type of events, and it's a marketing tool as well. So we'll cover everything from start to finish. If it's a wedding, we'll make sure your wedding is over the top. And if it's an event, we make sure that everybody gets information at the end of the day. Give us a call at 416-414-8964 or online, go to cmjent.com. Yes, we're back with Karlene. And before we took the break, I was asking her, okay, we're going to bring up your website. And then how do we know? How do we know? And then we had talked about, every person has a different time schedule. But then how do we know that, yes, this is something that I needed to do? Or do I need to go back to the drawing board? Or how do we know? How do we start? Because a lot of people are like, well, I wanted to try this first. It didn't work out. I wanted to try this first. It didn't work out. Can you try more than one?
You certainly can. Look at the myriad of things that I'm doing. And somebody asked me one time, oh, and how on earth do you do so many things? But the fact of the matter is that all the things that I do somehow all work together. So people may have, I find that, here's one of the things that I find. People have different gifts and talents that they're good at, but there is always one dominant one, right? I lead with my dominant gift, which is writing. And then the other things come after that, but it ties into everything that I do. How do you know it's the right time? Now, it's like you said, it's different for everyone. So how did I know that it was the right time for me? Because there was always this tug. You start feeling this tug at you to do this particular thing. And if it's something that won't go away, then it's something that you're going to have to pay attention to. Right? It means that thing is calling you to action. A lot of us had these things in us since we were kids. Those are dreams that were placed there when you before you came into this world. So you came into the earth with them, but at a certain point in time, they start tugging at you, say, hey, I'm knocking at your door, I'm ready to come out. But because some people are not aware enough that that's what's happening, they continue to ignore that thing. They'll talk about it, but they won't really act on it. So I'm telling you today that when you start to feel that tug, there is that particular thing that you've always thought about that you want to do and you've never done anything about it. Those are the things that you really need to pay attention to. My first book was 25 years in the making. I remember I was 15 years old. I was in third form in high school. I think that would equate to what? Grade 9 here. I was in third form in high school back home, when the thought came to me during a literature class that I have to write a book about, children that look like me, because I'm reading these stories about students that are children that I can't relate to. I can't relate to the games they play, even though the stories were funny as heck, but they still weren't representing me. And I remember sitting in class one day and thinking, it would be pretty nice to write a book about us one day. And so at what age was I in third form? Maybe around 15, 16. You know what I mean? Somewhere there. I can't remember. But it took approximately 25 years for me to bring that dream to fruition. So it doesn't matter how long you've been thinking about doing the thing. The time is now. Just do it. If it's on your mind and it won't leave you alone, do it. If you don't know what to do, Google is one of your best resources right now, right? Yeah. How do I are some of my favorite words in the English lexicon. How do I? Yeah. And you start that way. How do I do this? And then you start looking for people who may have done it or, done something similar before, and you connect with them and you start asking them questions. If you want, you can hire a coach or a mentor to help you, plan it out and how to move from point A to point Z to where you want to be. And so there are resources available to you. You just have to go look for them and make use of them, right? But do not sit there and let that dream die within you. Yes. Somebody once said that the graveyard is the richest place on the earth, because so many people die with their gifts and their talents inside of them, never doing anything with it. Don't let that be you. That thing that's pulling at you, that thing that's tugging at you, do something about it. Act on it right now.
I like that quote, because that's amazing. Because a lot of people have a book idea, have something, and they think, oh, it's too late. I had my opportunity. I'm a mom now. I'm a dad now, or I always want to do something. It's never too late for you to do something. So you're absolutely right. See, with me, every morning I make it a thing that I go to a YT University.
YT?
YouTube.
Oh. Yes, I like YouTube myself.
I go to YouTube every morning and I just type in, how do I, because there's thousands of people on there that, trying to teach you what they've learned, and they put videos out. So yes. Like you said, there's never an opportunity to learn something new and to go for it. So then let's talk about how you can help people. All right. So what should somebody do? Should they call you first, go online, book a session? How can we talk so you can open up and, see their potential? Because what I realize is sometimes people always say to you, oh, you did an awesome job. And you're like, really? You're like, no, you did something, you did awesome. They're like, oh, like they don't realize that the job they're doing is awesome. You know what I mean? Right. That's just something I do all the time. You always write these little poems. Yeah, I got about 300 of them in my room. I just jot them down. but they don't realize that those 300 poems could be $20 here, $20 there. You know, put them put them all into a book. You know, it could be the next bestseller. So how do we, you know, come to you and we talk to you and say, hey, I got these poems. Do you think there's anything here?
Yeah, I get that a lot, actually. It's so funny. I got emails last week about a couple of people sending me their poems to read over. So it's so funny that you brought that up. And coincidentally, the first time I got published, it was a bunch of my poems that got published in an anthology with a bunch of other poets. So that was pretty cool. Okay. So we're right on target here. So they can contact me. I prefer to receive emails. A lot of people contact me through social media, Facebook Messenger, LinkedIn. They send me messages on LinkedIn, Instagram, not so much Twitter. I am on Twitter, but I'm not as active as on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. So they can connect with me on any of those platforms. My email is also on the bottom of the screen. I'm seeing it there, Karlene@karlenemillwood.com. And, you know, sometimes they can call me, because what I realize nowadays that you don't need a number for someone to call you through WhatsApp these days. So, but the caveat is, if you're just calling me to shoot the breeze, I will ignore you. I don't have the time. So it has to be about something specific that you're going to call me about. And I will be happy to respond to you, right? So yeah, those are the ways that they can get in touch.
All right, let's talk about failure. Okay. Because that's one thing that people are like, okay, they try. Oh, I tried and it didn't work out. Oh, how many times did you try? Oh, just the one time. It didn't work out, so I quit. Or I tried and the person I went to didn't think, so I decided not to do it. It's nothing for me. I hear a lot of people that want to become entrepreneurs, want to become great. They want to soar, but because they fell out of the tree and then take off flight right away, they quit. Can we talk about that real quick?
Yeah, there is a negative connotation attached to failure. And failure is probably one of your best friends. I remember when I used to be afraid to fail. And sometimes that has to do with the narrative you grew up with. It could be what you heard playing on the playground. It could be what you were told in school if you failed a test. It could be what your parents were saying to you. So the narrative around failure is that it's bad. Failure is one of the greatest teachers that is available to us. You know what I mean? So the first instinct of failure is to, like you say, drop everything and run. But I would say to them, look at what you've learned, if anything, in that thing that you started that you said didn't work. Right. Because one of the things I find out too, Charles, is that someone will start something. And if you're starting something from scratch, you're not going to expect that it's going to mature in 6 months.
No.
So they're putting something in, and within 6 months, they don't see the results that they're looking for. And they think, okay, it's not working. I'm done. I'm gone. I want you to actually, that idea that you started, that project that you started, I want you to compare it to a baby. When a baby is born, for the longest while, you were pregnant with this idea. For how many years you were pregnant with it, because once it's inside, you haven't given birth to it yet. Right. And so you finally decided to start doing something with it. This is where you give birth to it now. And within 6 months, are you telling me within 6 months that a baby is ready and mature enough to move out on their own and start living their own life? Are you kidding me? There is no way. You know what I mean? There are times when you're going to be working at something 3-4 years and you're still not seeing the results. It doesn't mean you're failing. One of the things that you have there is this great picture that's out there on the internet where it shows a little teeny iceberg above the water, but beneath the water there is that, and it's showing you all the different things that's going on under there, and then the little tiny iceberg at the top just says success, while everything else is on the bottom, the failures, the rejections, the whole of the. Listen to me. When you plant a seed, and I can say this as a matter of fact because my grandparents were farmers when I was growing up, and they used to drag me into the bushes with them to plant peas. Much to my chagrin, hated it, but I did it anyway. I didn't like those worms crawling around in the dirt, but I did it. So one of the things I learned from that is that once you plant that seed, by the very next day, that seed has popped under the earth. because I used to, as a precocious little kid, we used to go back and dig some of them up just to see what's happening, right?
Okay.
The seed popped underneath the earth and it started to shoot stuff out. So things are growing underneath the dirt, while on top of the dirt, it looks like nothing's happening. You know what I mean? So it takes a long time for the roots to push out of that thing enough for the sprout to even push through the dirt. So just because you're not seeing the results on the surface doesn't mean things aren't happening underneath. You know what? All of the things that you're struggling with, you feel like you're hitting your head against a wall. You feel like you don't have support. You can't find the resources. Those are all things that's strengthening you and giving you that wherewithal to push through it. It's teaching you how to persevere. You know, you're going to need all of those things, and if you're not building them, if you're not gaining them at this stage, when the harvest comes, when the big bunch of peas shows up, you're not going to be able to handle it. So in the process of you doing all this underneath, where you feel like, oh, it's not working, I'm not making any money, I'm not doing this, it's doing different things in you. It's preparing you for that big harvest that's coming later. So I would ask people, don't just look at things just because you're 6 months, a year, 2 years in and thinking that it's a failure. It's not necessarily so. You are at this point building the foundation, and the higher you're going to go is the deeper you're going to have to dig for that foundation. You know what I mean? If you look at the way they build these condos nowadays, the higher those condos go, you see how deep they have to dig in order to put that structure underneath it to keep that thing standing. So all of what is going on with you is helping to prepare you for that the result that you're desiring in the end. So don't run away from things so quickly, right?
Okay. So here's a couple of things. We've just put in, you have some couple of events coming up. I just put them into the chat so people can log on and go to Eventbrite. So I'm just letting people know that I'm putting your events in the chat so you can learn more. I'm going to put up the event on the screen. There it is. You're going to be talking about some great other people live. There you go. So if you want to know more about it, go into the chat. I've actually put the link, the Eventbrite, into the chat. So you can log on and book yourself in right away.
Excellent.
All right. So what's next besides this one? You know, doing some more speaking engagements. Do you have another book coming out? Do you have anything else that you want to say? You know, you've been pieing on it. You've been thinking about it. Like it's time to, like you say, give birth to something else.
Yeah, I'm always pregnant. This is what I say to people. I'm always pregnant. So, if you look at me and I'm gaining a little weight, don't worry, I got something going on. But yes, there are several things that I'm working on in the background, some of them quietly. I'm not ready to talk about them yet. But you mentioned books. There are 2 books that I'm working on at present. One of them is geared toward leadership, called Mastering Your Leadership Potential. And that one, I am just, as a matter of fact, taking some of the data from my master's thesis and massaging it a little bit and actually making it into publishable material.
Okay.
And the second book is an ebook. This one is only going to be available online, and it's talking and teaching people about self-awareness, just taking them into a little bit deeper dive into self-awareness and the importance of self-awareness in their daily lives, and especially in business. So those 2 I can talk about. There are others that at the right time you will hear about.
everything has a time, and
everything has its time. Yeah,
and everything has a place. I got you. Yeah. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on the show once again and giving us these insights, because it is the right thing. Like right now, I'm like you. I'm about to try something new, something different. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, hey, at least you tried it. You put it out there. So it's a great opportunity. But here, like on the show, we love to do our shout outs and do the Queen wave and say hi to anybody you want to shout out to. This is your opportunity to say hi to anybody out there.
Well, I want to say hi to all the people that are connected to me on social media this morning. I want to give a special shout out to the people in the Black community who has been, dealing with all the mental and emotional turmoil that's been happening. Just remember that in the process of doing everything to take care of yourself, that is so important. Self-care is very necessary right now, because emotions are just all over the place. And remember to practice love, and the change that you want to see starts with you. that's my shout out for today. Thank you so much.
I like that. Start with love, and that's all we need sometimes, is just to, start it off, say hi to everybody, love everybody, and it'll be great.
Yeah,
Want to say big shout outs here going out for one of our viewers wants to say to you from Claudio. Thank you, Karlene.
Thank you, Claudio. Thanks for tuning in and listening.
All right. So we'll talk soon. Thank you so much. If you want to get a hold of her, please don't forget, grab an email. She loves to get emails from you. Long as, get some ideas, you can work it out together. Open up your own potential and see what's inside, because everybody has something inside of them. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Charles. Thanks for having me again.
All right. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. Yes. Another great interview. And I want to thank, these lovely ladies, and we're getting the ladies together. IWB, Immigrant Woman Business in Business. If you're looking to do some business and you're looking to open it up, please do take a look at these beautiful women doing things strong, getting themselves out there. Fantastic. Well, that's one of my shows. Thank you. You didn't have to watch, but I thank you that you did. We'll see you tomorrow with another great interview. See you next time.
Has come to an end, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share, and get involved. Join us next time.
Please be advised that this podcast is meant for educational and informational purposes only and is in no way a replacement for legal or medical advice. The opinions contained within are solely those of the interviewers and interviewees and should be received as so. Those seeking help or advice are encouraged to obtain professional legal and medical services.